Thank you, President Biden. Thank you, Vice President Harris. Thank you, Democratic Congress. Now, I say all of this not to relive that difficult moment, but to make one simple point. When the political will is there, government can effectively deliver for the people of our country. And now we need to summon that will again, because too many of our fellow Americans are struggling every day to just get by, to put food on the table, to pay the rent, and to get the health care they need.
Bernie Sanders' remarks, though perhaps unintended as a direct criticism, will undoubtedly be seen as a glaring indictment of the very administration he has supported. For many Americans, his recognition of the overwhelming economic struggles feels like a veiled call for new leadership. A leadership that, in their eyes, only Donald Trump can provide. The public's frustration is palpable, especially when they hear the echoes of "your party used it," a cry of anger at what they see as the failures of Democratic policies under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. The irony in Bernie Sanders' message is impossible to ignore. Here he is, passionately arguing for more government intervention to ease the suffering. Yet it's this very approach that many believe has fueled the hardship they now endure. The response from the public, Bernie for Trump, is a visceral reaction, a cry from those who have lost faith in the promises of more of the same. They are looking for a different path, one they believe Donald Trump embodies, a path away from policies they see as only deepening the pain.
Brothers and sisters, bottom line, we need an economy that works for all of us, not just the billionaire class.
Kamala has shown her allegiance to this nation, not by spewing anger and bitterness, but by living a life of service and always pushing the doors of opportunity open to others. She understands that most of us will never be afforded the grace of failing forward. We will never benefit from the affirmative action of generational wealth. If we bankrupt a business or choke in a crisis, we don't get a second, third, or fourth chance. If things don't go our way, we don't have the luxury of whining or cheating others to get further ahead. No. We don't get to change the rules so we always win. If we see a mountain in front of us, we don't expect there to be an escalator waiting to take us to the top. No. We put our heads down. We get to work. In America, we do something. And throughout her entire life, that's what we've seen from Kamala Harris.
Michelle Obama's remarks are strikingly contradictory when held up against the recent actions of the Democratic Party. Her statement, "We don't get to change the rules, so we always win," rings hollow to a public that sees the Democratic National Committee, DNC, as having done exactly that to favor Kamala Harris. There's a deep sense of irony here, especially for those who believe that the rules were bent or outright changed to push Joe Biden aside and elevate Kamala Harris without a proper primary vote. This irony doesn't just sit in the air. It digs deep into the hearts of those who feel betrayed by a political process they once believed in. The fairness and transparency of that process, values that should be sacred in a democracy now seem like distant ideals. Instead, there's a growing narrative that the Democratic Party is willing to reshape norms and manipulate the system just to cling to power. This perception breeds not just disappointment, but a profound sense of distrust and betrayal among the public.
The steel of her spine, the steadiness of her upbringing, the honesty of her example, and yes, the joy of her laughter and her light. It couldn't be more obvious. Of the two major candidates in this race, only Kamala Harris truly understands the unseen labor and unwavering commitment that has always made America great. Now, unfortunately, we know what comes next. We know folks are going to do everything they can to distort her truth. My husband and I sadly know a little something about this. For years, Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hard-working, highly educated, successful people who happen to be black.
Together, Kamala and Tim have kept faith with America's central story. A story that says we are all created equal. All of us endowed with certain inalienable rights, that everyone deserves a chance, that even when we don't agree with each other, we can find a way to live with each other. That's Kamala's vision. That's Tim's vision. That's the Democratic Party's vision. And our job over the next 11 weeks is to convince as many people as possible to vote for that vision. Now, it won't be easy. The other side knows it's easier to play on people's fears and cynicism, always has been. They will tell you that government is inherently corrupt, that sacrifice and generosity are for suckers. And since the game is rigged, it's okay to take what you want and just look after your own. That's the easy path. We have a different task. Our job is to convince people that democracy can actually deliver. And in doing that, we can't just point to what we've already accomplished. We can't just rely on the ideas of the past. We need to chart a new way forward to meet the challenges of today. And Kamala understands this. She knows, for example, that if we want to make it easier for more young people to buy a home, we need to build more units and clear away some of the outdated laws and regulations that made it harder to build homes for working people in this country. That is a priority, and she's put out a bold new plan to do just that. On health care, we should all be proud of the enormous progress that we've made through the Affordable Care Act, providing millions of people access to affordable coverage, protecting millions more from unscrupulous insurance practices. I noticed, by the way, that since it's become popular, they don't call it Obamacare no more.
Barack Obama's remarks seem designed to calm the public, to mend the frayed trust in our government, especially within the Democratic Party. Yet for many, his words feel like a dismissal, a cold shoulder to the real and pressing fears about corruption and unchecked power in the government. When he touches on the skepticism felt by those on the other side, it only deepens the divide, highlighting the chasm in how different groups view the role and honesty of our leaders. There's a sharp pain in how he addresses these concerns, especially when he suggests Republicans believe the game is rigged. It can feel like he's brushing off deep-seated worries, concerns born from instances where government power seemed overreaching or corrupt. These remarks, whether intentional or not, strike a nerve, leaving many feeling frustrated, unheard, and pushed further to the margins.
But Kamala knows we can't stop there, which is why she'll keep working to limit out-of-pocket costs. Kamala knows that if we want to help people get ahead, we need to put a college degree within reach of more Americans. But she also knows college shouldn't be the only ticket to the middle class. We need to follow the lead of governors like Tim Walz, who said, if you've got the skills and the drive, you shouldn't need a degree to work for state government. And in this new economy, we need a president who actually cares about the millions of people all across this country who wake up every single day to do the essential, often thankless work, to care for our sick, to clean our streets, to deliver our packages. We need a president who will stand up for their right to bargain for better wages and working conditions. And Kamala will be that president.
Trump killed that bill, and he did it because he knew that if we fixed the border, he'd lose his ability to divide us, his ability to fan the flames of fear about people who come from different places. Right? You guys know this, right? Hate and division, that's Trump's oxygen, right? People like Trump and J.D. Vance, they need it to survive in politics. People are saying that they're weird, that they're creepy, and they are weird, they are creepy. But even worse, they're weak. Kamala Harris is not weak. For 20 years, Kamala Harris has been tough as nails when it comes to securing our border.
Chris Murphy's remarks might resonate as a chilling reminder of just how far political rhetoric can drift from the harsh reality that so many in the public endure. The belief that the current administration has utterly failed to manage the border crisis is not just a whisper. It's a roar from countless voices, feeling abandoned and unheard. When Kamala Harris boldly claims to be tough as nails on border security, it's not just controversial, it's enraging. To many, it feels like the ultimate act of gaslighting, a deliberate and calculated attempt to twist reality to fit a narrative that serves the powerful while leaving the people in the dark. The emotional fallout from these remarks is visceral. Frustration boils over into distrust, and distrust hardens into a deep-seated anger. It's a betrayal that cuts deep, a wound that festers as people feel not only unprotected, but also blatantly misled about the true gravity of the situation. The call for a community note is more than just a plea for clarity. It's a desperate cry for accountability and integrity in the words of those who hold power. Public trust hangs by a thread, and the need for honest, accurate information has never been more critical to keep that thread from snapping entirely.
When she was a California prosecutor, she went after drug smugglers, human traffickers. She put 100 gang members away in a single sweep. Trump says that a safe nation can't be an immigrant nation. That's flat wrong, and Kamala Harris knows it.
All right, all right, all right. What's up, DNC? All right. Y'all remember this big old book from before? When Colorado Governor Jared Polis ripped the page out of it? This is Project 2025, the Republican blueprint for a second Trump term. It is boo. It is a real document that you can read for yourself at kamalaharris.com/Project 2025. You ever seen a document that could kill a small animal and democracy at the same time? Here it is. You know how when you download an app and there are hundreds of pages there that you don't read, it's just the terms and conditions, and you just click agree, right? Well, these are the terms and conditions of a second Trump presidency. You vote for him, you vote for all of this. Let's take a look. All right, do we got Matt here with us tonight? Is Matt here? Hey, there he is. Matt, how are you, sir?
Despite Donald Trump's vehement denials about his connection to Project 2025, a calculated effort has been made to stoke fear among the public by linking Kenan Thompson's Saturday Night Live remarks to Trump himself. This strategy is a blatant example of the Democrats' relentless use of fear to sway the public, aiming to tarnish Trump's image and undermine his potential presidency. The widespread perception that the DNC is distorting the truth and blowing Project 2025 out of proportion has ignited frustration and anger among those who feel manipulated by these political games. The public is outraged, with many accusing Kenan Thompson of being reduced to nothing more than a lucky prop comic, while others furiously allege that the DNC is outright lying. This boiling anger is being exploited by media outlets and entertainment figures, who are using these reactions to drive their own narratives. The use of powerful, emotionally charged phrases like evil and disgusting underscores just how deeply people believe the truth is being twisted.
All right, Matt. Now, Matt, I understand that you work as an AV tech in Nevada, and you make a decent hourly wage, is that right? Oh, I don't know if we can hear Matt. Can we hear Matt? So who's gonna fix it? Keep speaking, Matt, till we can hear you.
And she's gained an invaluable amount of experience as vice president, advancing our values and interests around the world. She's already said she's going to work really hard to make sure that no American working full-time lives in poverty or has to worry about their children living in poverty. She says that we got to make home ownership an achievable dream for everyone, not just a privilege. She said that and this meant a lot to me, that she would protect everybody's right to vote, whether or not they voted for her. They were citizens and they deserved the right to vote. The other day, her opponent implied that as his people voted one more time, they'd be able to rig it from now on and they wouldn't have to vote again. You think they're kidding, but I know a lot of these folks, and most of them are really good people, but some of them think that they are bound to dominate America politically, economically, and socially, and they have to use politics to do it, and they should rig the system. I don't believe that.
Bill Clinton's words resonate as a glaring example of political rhetoric, disconnected from the stark reality many people face. When he claimed that not a single person has been floated for Kamala Harris, it struck a chord of deep frustration and skepticism among those who see her rise to power as a betrayal of democratic principles. There's a growing sense that the political elite, not the voice of the people, is steering her ascent. Terms like close show and pure gaslighting reflect the public's discontent and their belief that political discourse has become nothing more than a charade. The accusation of admission of guilt through projection amplifies the belief that the very actions Clinton criticizes are being perpetrated by his own party. This perception breeds a profound sense of betrayal, as the public feels not only ignored, but manipulated, their genuine concerns twisted to serve the interests of a powerful few.
And so here's what I want to tell you. We've seen more than one election slip away from us when we thought it couldn't happen, when people got distracted by phony issues or overconfident. This is a brutal, tough business. I want you to be happy. One of the reasons that President-to-be Harris is doing so well is that we're all so happy.
I represented my neighbors in Congress for 12 years, and I learned an awful lot. I learned how to work across the aisle on issues like growing the rural economies and taking care of veterans. And I learned how to compromise without compromising my values. Then I came back to serve as governor, and we got right to work, making a difference in our neighbors' lives. We cut taxes for the middle class. We passed paid family and medical leave. We invested in fighting crime and affordable housing. We cut the cost of prescription drugs and helped people escape the kind of medical debt that nearly sank my family. And we made sure that every kid in our state gets breakfast and lunch every day. So while other states were banning books from their schools, we were banishing hunger from ours. We also protected reproductive freedom because in Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and the personal choices they make. And even if we wouldn't make those same choices for ourselves, we've got a golden rule. Mind your own damn business.
It's hard not to feel a deep sense of betrayal when hearing Tim Walz's recent comments, especially when you remember his actions during the COVID-19 pandemic. The installation of a snitch line that encouraged reporting neighbors for breaking COVID-19 protocols seems like the ultimate contradiction to the principles of respecting individual choices and personal privacy. This isn't just hypocrisy. It's a glaring example of government overreach that many believe erodes the very freedoms we hold dear. The public's reaction is one of frustration and disillusionment, rooted in the irony of Walz's words when weighed against his past policies. There's a growing sense that he isn't practicing what he preaches, leading to a profound loss of trust in the government and a heightened skepticism towards political rhetoric. The feeling of being let down by a leader who appears to operate under a double standard stings deeply, casting a shadow over the integrity of the political landscape.
And that includes IVF and fertility treatments. And this is personal for Gwen and I. If you've never experienced the hell that is infertility, I guarantee you know somebody who has. And I can remember praying each night for a phone call, the pit in your stomach when the phone had rang, and the absolute agony when we heard the treatments hadn't worked. It took Gwen and I years, but we had access to fertility treatments. And when our daughter was born, we named